and I'm an analyst of the Dixie Group. And together with the co-organizers of this event, we would like to thank you for taking part in this roundtable devoted to the issues of financing of state programs on energy efficiency. Several words about the meeting. It is held in the framework of the project to increase the monitoring and political dialogue in energy sector according to the association agreement, and is financed by European Commission. We're also grateful for co-financing provided by Heiner Habiole Fund in Ukraine. And they contributed a lot to the organization of this event. This event was initiated by Dixie Group together with the OPORA network and Ukrainian Center of European Policy and Information Campaign Stronger Together and National Ecology Center, and also supported by RPR. So all main organizations that work in energy efficiency sector, they contributed to organize this event. And we thank them for this, for being with us today. So, about today's meeting, the agenda, 3 discussion sessions. First, we are going to speak about financing and results and prospects of state-targeted economic program on energy efficiency. There is no program that introduces energy efficiency at the moment. That's why it should be developed. And through different research and surveys, we know that Ukrainians are optimistic about introduction of energy efficiency measures. And we know that the majority, more than 81% of citizens of Ukraine agree with the fact that introduction of energy efficiency is really important. And half of those surveyed, they see that they can be active members of this process. And at the same time, more than 80% of Ukrainians believe that state should also contribute, because they believe the state should help. The citizens should be supported by the state in the situation of increased tariffs and low energy efficiency. And during second panel, we are going to discuss Energy Efficiency Fund. This is one of the initiatives that has the aim to help introduce complex measures. Warm credits, they help to introduce separate and not very costly projects, and Energy Efficiency Fund should help to introduce complex decisions, complex solutions, and it will increase the efficiency. And also at the same time, and there will be a panel to discuss this initiative. It has been started many years ago, and we do not see real implementation. We see some steps, but we do not see proper results. When this this fund will come into operation. And the third panel will be about monetization of subsidies. You know that the tariffs are on the increase, and they will correspond the real market price and the cost of energy resources in the market, and the government takes steps in order to compensate these increased tariffs, and it increases support, but it forgets about financing of the energy efficiency projects, and we burn money. We burn a lot. More than 51 million is provided for 2017, and at the same time only 7 million are provided for agency fund of energy efficiency, and 0 is envisaged for warm credits, and this is of concern for us. And So this money that is allocated to cover this inefficient use, we should direct this money in order to increase energy efficiency, and we will discuss this during our third panel. Thank you, and we thank our speakers who will participate in this discussion, and I would like to stress that the results of this discussion today, we're going to discuss these important projects among ourselves, but we would like to create real proposals and to address those politicians who take decisions. The majority of these people, they are not here today. They had their reasons for this, but at the same time, we want that the result of this meeting, that this event was organized mainly by activists, different organizations. We want our voice to be heard, and we believe that now this is a very important period, and this is part of budget process as we see it, and society should discuss budget and lobby its interest, and we believe that energy efficiency is one of the most important things, and the budget should take it into account. And I thank you once again, and I ask the first panelists to take their seats, and the moderator of the first panel is Tetyana Boyko, coordinator of OPORA network, the coordinator for housing and public utilities programs. Good afternoon, dear friends. First panel, as it was said, it will be on the energy efficiency program that is called Warm Credits. And we are going to discuss this program and how it will be done today, what are the results, what we were able to reach, about the plans. As my colleague told, we have a situation that 2 years. This program was launched in 2014, and this is the only program in the sector on energy efficiency. And the volume was 70 times less than was allocated for subsidies. And you know that tariffs raised 2 times for warm hot water, and the state allocate 70 times more attention to subsidies than to the issues of energy efficiency. It focused its attention on this. So starting 1st January 2017, no kopeck is allocated for heat loans, and the most optimistic view on this, it will start. The fund will start its work in April 2017. And I think this view is really optimistic. I believe that it will start its work in autumn, and I believe that we are going to discuss the operation of this fund during our second session. And now we are going to speak about the situation that exists at the moment. I'll give the floor to Yulia Sabatiuk. You know her. She is the Luchany head of the board, housing cooperative, and she is going to tell us about their experience in the area and how she did it, and what prospects she sees, what steps should be next.
Горових, заступник директора департаменту з держенергоефективності, фактично людина.
So, Director on Energy Efficiency, and we expect People's Deputy Alyona Babak, representatives of the Ministry of Finance. No, they are not here, but they promised to come here. And I ask Mr. Karol Hirm, and he is from advisors group of the Prime Minister of Ukraine that deal with energy efficiency and energy in this group of advisors. And I won't say a lot because our organization was lobbying this program, and we believe that we should give the floor to Yulia Sabatiuk, who is going to tell us about her experience. Good afternoon. Yulia Sabatiuk, Lutsk city. We provide credits for condominium, and during this year, Lutsk had 10 million of loans, and in Lutsk we have thermo-modernized buildings, 5 thermo-modernized buildings, and our citizens do not have negative attitude toward warm credits, and our residents, the owners, they pay less, despite the fact that they should return the credit money. And I would like to show you the examples how these buildings look like and how they look now. And also I will provide some figures. And you know that in one of the houses that underwent full thermal modernization through the credit 2015, and during they had to consume 450. You see the figures on the screen. At that, they modernized the house using the funds for heating. They used only 155,000. So you see 441 and 155. So we saved a lot of money for our owners, and we provided to the bank 200,000. So our owners, they saved, so some money was left in their pockets. And today we see that this program is efficient, and people, they believe in this program. And as of today, we are ready to implement energy efficiency measures in next year, and we prepare to create 4 more thermo-modernized buildings, and the fund should be in operation. And we ask this program to be continued because owners see that this is the right thing, and we tell truth to people that through this credit they can save their money, and people, they have trust in this, and they see the bills, and they see that this program is efficient, and they will implement this. We have the video.
Lutsk in May 2016. The walls have much moisture, there are cracks. The heating provides too much or too little warmth in the houses. Then integrated thermal modernization started. August 2016, the same city of Lutsk. Thermal insulation. and protection and special coating and special paints and individual heating point with the capability to control how much heat is supplied to apartments. The result of thermal modernization are costs for heating are less, so the bills for heating will be lower, and equal distribution of heating by flats. And I would like to summarize when in October 2015 the tariffs were 7.33. There were all services which tried to control how we calculate the tariffs. Today I can say that our deputies, they will initiate the request to Verkhovna Rada to fill the budget for this program, and I would like to ask you to support us. Yulia, thank you. We have been working with Yulia for 7 years, and this is not one building. There are many buildings which were modernized. Julia has been dealing with this topic of energy efficiency in housing stock. This is her topic, and she dedicated her efforts to this, and she also involved many other buildings, many other condominium. Yulia told that previously there were donor support and other financial mechanism, and they said that you made one cans for Ukraine, and now you are demonstrating it, presented it everywhere. I would like to give the floor to Mr. Garavay so that he tell what are the results of the targeted program, state targeted program, how much resources have been saved by categories of consumers. Good afternoon. First of all, thank you for organizing such an event to all expert organizations which have been supporting us at all stages of implementation of this program. This is very important, and I think the results of this cooperation, they are visible. My presentation would be brief because not so long ago first researches were conducted into the efficiency of implementation of this program. In October, we presented a survey of condominium. On 1st and 2nd of November, on Business Forum of Energy Efficiency, we presented the survey of individuals who participated in the state program. You can see on the slide that from the very beginning, there was a trend, growing trend. The demand grows. You can see that there were some periods when the program stops and some periods when the budget was adopted but the program was not adopted. And this year the program for individuals was stopped. This is the question. This is minus of budget planning and implementation of targeted programs. This is really the aspect how important to plan, how hard to plan them, but we have demand which is growing continuously thanks to transparency and the ease of the program. No civil servant contact with individuals. The measures are voluntary. The second thing, there is no motivation to overstate the cost of this measures because they are loans. We have rather complicated attitude. this is integration also into local programs. You can see here where 200 local programs of co-financing. They are also working, and the CEE has been consulting local authorities how to adopt the program and how to administrate it. And from these 200 local communities, only half of them provide funding and have tools, because sometimes only one thing is adopted, either a program or a tool. So there are problems with adopting tools. From this slide, you can see that there is a trend in the outcomes. It's loans to individuals, more than 90%. Next slide, you can see here condominium. They are not so high figure, demonstrate not so high figures because we have a low number of condominiums, and but you can see the growing trend on this graphs. You can see that the last figures, they concern weeks, not months. Every time we register that the rates speed up. 20 loans have been acquired during just 1 week. So now we fast collect data on the number of individuals who have already taken out loans, and refunding is provided to borrowers after the works are completed. So there are some risks that refunding reimbursements will not be provided in time, but loans to condominiums, they are provided on continuous basis. 125 condominia participated in the program from the very beginning. They were surveyed on quality, such as satisfaction, sources of information, efficiency of local program. They were the questions of the survey. And savings, the amount of savings also was evaluated, because the efficiency of the program, this is the main indicator to be assessed. 100% of surveyed condominia, they are satisfied with the program. 70% of them achieved savings. There is some lag, which depends on the period when the measures were implemented, either during the heating season or before it. And also motivation is high, 81%. They felt that comfort in their homes increased. The windows, they are installed, and also individual thermal stations in buildings. EBRD's program also registered similar structure of demand. So this is the structure of demand which you can see on this slide. In general, another important feature of any co-funding program is that it is also should be supported by public awareness campaigns, which should be strong, and banks then engage in this draw attention to the energy efficiency topic. If you can see, look at this slide, and you can see scenarios of condominia participation in the programs, share of condominia fluctuates about 50%, 30 to 40% of funding provide the state, and 15% sometimes provide local communities. Sometimes they do not provide support. The state support or the community support, their funding could be higher if the loan is repaid faster. Critical thing is when the loan is high, such as 1 million, then the share of condominium is 900,000. This is the advantage till condominium accumulate relevant resources for overhauling, for repairs. In all these cases, thanks to savings which were achieved, the loans, the interest on loans did not exceed the advantages and savings which the buildings get this way. There was also another nationwide research. In this survey, 1,000 families were surveyed. The sample was scientifically well-grounded, and we conducted this survey jointly with USAID, and by structure of survey it was similar. The results were similar. 95% of the surveyed felt positive changes. 36 of them received improved comfort. As concerns forecast of distribution or of shares between the state, community, and individuals, how much they pay under the program. State support is 40% share, 51% households costs, and 9% of money were provided by local authorities here. The payments under the loan, the repayment, they really can, the interest on them may be higher than the savings amount received. An important thing for condominium, as we already told at the beginning, we should draw attention to global measures, but not small ones. Most condominium, they take out repeated loans. First, they take loans for installation of windows, new windows, and you know that our mentality is that it, even some flowers, home flowers, we do not like to take money, to borrow money from the state for the installation. The savings will be verified by request to oblgaz and heat suppliers. In principle, this is very interesting cases for energy auditors. In most cases, often there are some aspects we are theoretical, but theoretical figures mostly are proved correct when we implement measures. Lighting also provides certain percent of savings because lighting consume energy. In 2015, in fact, under this targeted program, 352 million of loans were co-funded and people repaid these loans. Active period of operation of this program is 5 months. There will be about 30 million hryvnias in this year refunded according to our pessimistic scenarios. 1.9 billion hryvnias are required for co-funding. This means investments of 5 billion hryvnias. Because we have such a demand, because we have not only state program but also EBRD's program which have already been launched, and this demand could be partly satisfied through EBRD's program. But in the draft budget of the state, we have only 800 million hryvnias. This is far less than this year. This year the program worked for 6 months in full, and if the state energy efficiency fund is established 7 million, this would be also for administrative costs. They should be funded from some source. In the next section, we will talk about the energy efficiency fund. It is planned to be established without international institutions, so the demand will not be covered. As concerns continuing implementation of the state program for 2017, the plans were developed this summer. There is a plan of government which is supposed to continue the program for 2017 and 2018. The concept of the fund is a regulatory document, and it stipulates adoption of all funding mechanisms. There could be several parallel mechanisms of funding because the main goal is to achieve and to create better conditions for final beneficiaries, which are our citizens, and here competition between the programs will be useful. The second, which the government plan stipulates, it is extending of support to ESCO companies, energy service companies. This may cover 80% of buildings where condominium have not been established. 3 or 4 years were rather complicated because it was complicated for banks to fund such buildings. ESCO company, they are also quite hardly understandable category of borrowers for banks. The program provides several versions. They are posted at the website. This is a mandatory individual thermal station in buildings, other measures of regulation and efficient consumption. We have 3 cases where partial section of the building was insulated in Ternopil region and no heat meter was installed. Metering should be mandatory in buildings, or it should be planned among the measures to be refunded from the program. Lack of control, monitoring and verifications, these things are mentioned as shortcomings of this program, but I would like to draw your attention when monitoring is in question. It is often forgotten that the SAEE does not have any supervising bodies over it for several years, so the results of this research, they have been made on voluntary basis. It is planned to launch tools of default agreement to process information about borrowers and other things such as requests to gas suppliers. The law forbids, and there are many restrictions on relations between borrowers and banks. This information is confidential in many cases, but there is a way out, voluntary signing of some documents which would provide the opportunity to process their data and conduct verification. We plan to conduct verification of 10 to 20% of borrowers in registered via check of documents and photo fixation, photo shooting and video shooting of the works. This is the trend. As concerns continuations, we need 1.9 billion hryvnias for the program, and we submitted request in summer, but request was not satisfied by the government. Now we have submitted the draft so-called Plan B. This is 33.2 million. They are not used funds from European institutions. They are the funds from which our program started. This is for reimbursement in January and February, because if the program remains suspended and does not continue, then there will be some problems which we would face. We now work with the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Economic Development today and yesterday, and we have some positive developments, and for the second reading maybe some amount will be provided in the general fund of the national budget.
And why the credit mechanism was chosen, not direct co-financing? Because majority of condominium support this. A lot of international organizations and other organizations from the very start, they said that not only credit mechanism should be in place for condominium, not only for condominium, but also for citizens. This is a network. This is a network of banks, and maybe the list of this bank can be broadened, and if the mechanism works in the form of fund, we can choose banks, and the main criteria should be the network. Our main bank for physical persons is Oshad Bank, and it has its offices in any village. And about the credits, despite all psychological minuses, this is an obstacle for corruption. Of course, this is a risk, and to avoid doubling. And when we introduced the program, some people said that there can be some abuse, but the monitoring and survey didn't reveal this. It is important that financial motivation should be proper, and there is no risk of reselling of equipment, for example, because this is an important prevention measure, and intermediaries, they are important to avoid the contact with those officials that would obstruct this, to because there were some examples in Ukraine when some budgets are not well coordinated, and that's why they were not realized. So, are there any prospects in the increase of the list of these banks? Because first there was the position of the Ministry of Finance, that the situation is difficult, and that's why they chose only 3 state banks. And this year there was a trend that banks are not properly motivated because of interest rates. There are some issues, and experts believe that we can decrease several percent, and for the condominium that is important. And we have a monopoly because Ukhrgaz Bank and Ashat Bank, they deal with the condominium and physical persons, and this condition is not favorable for the banks and for consumers, and there are a lot of complaints that they delay. There is delay in information and compensation, and even several months are of importance. That's why maybe the list of banks should be enlarged. So first it was a Ashat Bank, then 3 banks, state banks, were involved, and the financing was increased, and there was project when we proposed to include other banks who want to work in the sector. And as Tetyana said, this was not supported, and we can understand banks, the efficiency and inefficiency and intensity of work. We should forecast it for the year, and now we have November, and they do not know whether they should train their staff for the next year. And as to interest rates, we started from higher interest rates, and as you may see, these were market rates, and some people said that we should decrease them, but we try to decrease the value, the cost of this loan, and you see that it is possible to do, and we believe that in the situation we should not add more banks to the list. And there was distribution of banks, 4 groups: state banks, banks with international capital, and those that have share. And we got a reply from NBU, and we proposed, and NBU agreed, that 3 categories with a state share: any bank with state share, an international share, or the bank from the first group with the volume of assets can participate in this program. And now everything depends on volumes of financing. Unfortunately, we do not have the representatives of finance here in order to ask them why these changes were not introduced, and expert community believed that verification issue should be included, and maybe not in summer, but even in March. The first draft was written that included the importance of verification, and these amendments were not included, and the list of banks was not broadened. And now, unfortunately, we have only 1 representative, but not of the government. And we have an advisor here, and Mr. Karl is going to comment on these issues. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for this invitation. It was 2 minutes before the beginning of this event. And I am a member of the group of advisors. We work to help the government of Ukraine on the invitation of the Prime Minister of Ukraine. And I'm not a representative of the Ukrainian government, and I'm not the representative of the Prime Minister. So I would like to say several words. The situation in Ukraine is the start period. And I live it through as a member of Condominia and as the advisor to energy efficiency. I worked in these programs, and I was also involved in different projects in Slovakia. And we started it 15 years ago, even more. And what is going on now is some sort of déjà vu, nothing special. You just follow the right direction. The opinions of people that 80% they are pro-energy efficiency and 80% expect the support of the state in this. This is normal, this is correct. And there should be a request to the government and local government, I mean state, city authorities, regional authorities, they should support. The warm credits program, as it was presented before, it is a standard program, not only in my home country, but in other countries, in Visegrad Group, Poland, Czech, Hungary. This program is supported by banks, small credits for construction, servicing of household. In order to understand, I saw the figures in Slovakia. We have, through the fund for support of development of housing, and in Czech Republic and in Poland there is such funds. And in Slovakia, through this fund, we allocate support of 300 million euros. It is about 6-9 billion hryvnias a year, but we have only 5 million of population in our country. And in Poland, in Czech Republic, these are different figures because the number of houses is different in order for you to understand in what financial conditions you are and calculations. And previously they said, look at the experience of other states. What you see now, it started 15 years ago. So we should be fair and just that this is a result of the long process. It took time. We prepared this project and then we started to implement it. So it took a lot of time, and you have a privilege because you can avoid our mistakes. You can just take it. You can see what really works, and you can make implementation on a systemic level. And I will be honest, now I hear that as some people say that there is no support for the next year of this program of warm credits, but it's not true. People support it. This is a standard program of small credits that should support the households, and this is a standard program. The Fund of Energy Efficiency that is created and that should be in operation next year. This is a big fund, and this is standard in our countries, but this is for complex programs. When, for example, there is a project, you had you used these funds for thermal modernization. You did it step by step. So small credits for the owners of flats to replace windows and to replace electric bulbs or to put some metering devices. And people buy them, and they should be registered by oblgaz, oblenergo, and this is a painful topic. And there is no money included in the tariffs because oblgaz, they do not include this in their tariffs, this establishment of meter devices. And these meters should be registered by these organizations. And big programs, complex modernization of buildings, replacement of windows, full modernization of roof and walls, and so on. And the same for individual housing. So warm credit programs should continue. It is rational. There should be verification, and I knew about this problem, and those who spend the money, they should provide their data. They should provide information about the program, so how many money they spent, and then fiscal data that is of interest about the consumption of energy. So the data should be objective, and this is a standard elsewhere. If you use state money, you should provide proper reports on this, so people should meet requirements. Energy efficiency fund for large programs, it should be in place. There should be a proper mechanism. And warm credits for small crediting is a standard mechanism, nothing special about it. It should continue. And it should be supported. Thank you. Thank you. So maybe questions from the audience, and then we will have Skype connection with regions. Do you have questions? Or maybe we should start with Skype. Good afternoon. We have connection of Mariupol Ukraine Crisis Media Center. If you have questions, please ask. I have a question. Firstly, about these warm credits. As I understood, so this is the will of separate banks whether they should provide credits to individual clients, or how is it going to work in ATO area? Because for us this is an important issue. Thank you for your question. The mechanism that envisages the banks as financial intermediaries. So there is an issue of revenue, of profit, and in case of work with physical persons, for example, people get 1,500 hryvnias per month, so the banks didn't provide credits for them. But then when the subsidies were introduced by the state, then these people who got subsidies, they now represent 40% of those who can get these credits. As to ATO area, Donetsk Oblast, non-occupied parts of Donetsk Oblast, they are active participants. They are one of the first signatories of the Memorandum of Energy Efficiency through local programs, and this was important aspect. And in Donetsk and Lugansk Oblast, they have their local programs. They are financed on a regular basis as in other parts of Ukraine, but their activity especially Donetsk Oblast, they are active. They are one of the leaders. Thank you. One more question. What about private sector? Whether they are provided to villages and towns, such as Mariupol, and those towns I know in Donetsk Oblast, there are a lot of private households, whether they not only to legal entities and condominia, can these credits be provided to physical persons? But you know that the majority are private houses, and you know that those people who live in flats, they can just replace some heating facilities or windows, and the request from private sector is the biggest. And one more issue. This issue is this program is long-term. Are there many of such programs? This is a problem of financing. Every year, this program will be planned for the next year. And if the condominia get this credit for something big, for example, to repair, to warm the roof, and this is not a small credit for 3 or more years, for more than a year, and if the financing is not allocated for the next year, that will be the problem of this condominia, as I understand. If the bank will just put the regular rates at place, because I remember the program of accrediting for young families, and they had such an experience. So I'm head of condominia. I can say that we never got these credits after 1st of October. So we understand that the compensation will be provided, and we should carry out all works in proper time. So we include all the mechanisms in order to implement our part of the program. So these are small credits that when you, for example, can replace windows, these are micro credits. And several months ago, they had some bigger average sums of these credits. And if we are speaking about 2016, 2017, there will be financing, and if the government won't, if there will be some delay for 2 or 3 months, I believe that till the end of the year, the provision will be adopted concerning the financing, and they sent it to the Ministry of Justice, and we await for the adoption of and approval of this by the Ministry of Finance. And previously, in previous year, there were no such delay. So the program compensate the part of the body of the credits for those for the members of condominia, and through local with local programs there are such problems because they compensate percentage and interest rate, and they have problems with allocating of funds, and also some cities compensate part of body of credits in order not to face this problem. And I'm the representative of Crisis Media Center, and we have a question to Yulia Sabatiuk. In what way, how can we convince people that such programs really work? And we saw that the one oblast chose 15%, and in other towns people are afraid to take these credits, and some people believe that maybe that should be obligatory. How can we explain to people? We should work with people. we should try to organize the process in such a way and to work in tandem together with the government and the executive committee, and to highlight the information in a positive way weekly in order that people understood. And when so there were some problems with warming of these houses, with thermal modernization of houses. People lacked trust, and we saw saving in half a year. So they saw the results that the bills went down 50%, and this is real economy. And then people speak among themselves. It is important that we should work together and we should tell the truth to people about these programs. We had the same. The first pioneers who underwent these programs, people saw the results, that they are good, and critical mass was established, and we should provide support. We shouldn't jump from one program to the next. We should follow in a systemic way and support the levels of these programs, and the people from different regions will ask to establish such programs in their regions, such programs as were implemented in Lutsk, for example, and then it will be done in different regions. I have a question. Are there positive examples when it was not about warming of house or replacement of windows, but disconnection from central heating and establishment of mini heating boilers or other way of warming the building, or maybe two houses got united in order to do this? Do we have such experience? If we are speaking about these programs, so it is not envisaged in the program. So we are speaking about modernization and establishing the boiler if there was no such. One comment. Now the heat is going out into the air. Your money goes into the air. If you set your boiler, your money will go into the air, through the windows, through the walls. This is not a solution. This is just the same picture from the other side. By assessment of international donors, we lose about 50% of heat in housing sector. And to start modernization with networks, this is a mistake that was done, for example, by Poland. Additional facilities were created, and the thermal modernization should be started with the housing and energy efficiency in housing. It means that we should improve energy efficiency of the building. Ivan Gajducki, coordinator of PEC committee. I have a question to Karl. You said that in Slovakia this is about 300 million of euro. Is this state fund, or is this the volume of the market, or it is connected with business? And one more question. What mistakes you see, and what way we should follow, and what vector we should choose? It is understandable that we shouldn't change programs often. So this figure, this fund of support of housing, of households, development of households, this is a combination of state money and credit money of the banks. these small credits, they go through the banks, small construction credits, and partly state help, and the rest is provided to banking system of support. So that's why the sums are bigger and it differs. The fault, the error, I advise you not to stop the program. You should continue. When the program made its first, so people see there is a result you can show to other people. You shouldn't change programs. You should continue with the programs you established, one for small credits, and another level is at the level of fund of energy efficiency, and this is not saving of energy. And I know that this is right, but this is a social program first of all, and this is better than paying subsidies because it provides people opportunity to save, to be energy efficient, and this is the money of taxpayers. That's why we should look at these programs not only in terms of economy and energy efficiency, but also we should take into consideration that this is a social program that increases the comfort of people's lives, and the people, they see that their condition of living become better, and these are important components of the program, and then the prospects of these programs will be good. Do you have other questions? Yes, there is a question to Yulia about these houses that were fully thermo-modernized. What are these houses? Are they 9-storied buildings or 5-storied buildings? And what was allocated for each house? And we will start from the first. This was 9-storied building, and we carried out part modernization. We started from boilers and lighting. We made it step by step, and then we had warming of the house, and as of today, we got 2 credits, one for 16-storied building, full thermo-modernization for 3,600,000, and one 5-storied building, also full thermo-modernization. And the sum is 2,600,000. It doesn't depend on the number of stories of the building. It depends on people and the region. These are houses that owners saw the examples, and there is support of local government, and all this is highlighted in the media, and in this case we see a positive result. So we are going to sum up. I think, and one more question about the return. What money was returned to the state? And what sum was returned by the state? And what is the? There were 60 flats. We didn't get compensation. We didn't get compensation, but 6-storied building. The credit was for 1,600,000. More than 500,000 was the compensation from the state. Thank you. We thank you for taking part in this discussion, and we hope that we'll have good conclusions. We have mechanisms of public advocacy. We created a petition to the Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine with a request to continue state program and to introduce proper changes that we discussed today. And also we and Yulia Sabatiuk can tell us about her experience. You can address people's deputies. You can work with them in order that they request in the Supreme Council when the budget will be introduced for the second reading, there should be funds allocated, and the sum should be not less than last year, at least 2 billion hryvnias, as it was forecast by State Energy Department. And if we consider the popularization of energy efficiency, we should do it fast and even faster than in the other Eastern European countries. And we are in more difficult condition. We don't have time, and we should highlight these events in the media, and there should be state support. This program can do much more, and we should not stop it. We should reinforce and deepen, enlarge this program. And now I give the floor to my colleague Anna Shumeyka, Ecology Center of Ukraine, and second panel will be devoted to Energy Efficiency Fund and these complex projects on thermal modernization that we expect will be launched soon.